Good day. My name is Ash, and I'm the CEO of Symboticware, a leading industrial IoT company. We are transforming the 4 million off-highway vehicles across the natural resource industries. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I'm going to talk about the 5 principles of digital transformation. So let's get started. For the vast majority of human history, manufacturing was a process which has been completed by hand, manual work. It was less productive. It produced a smaller volume of goods. And then we had Industry 1.0 or Industry 2.0 transformation, where we revolutionized the productivity of the manufacturing process by mechanizing things. We had a steam engine, we had internal combustion engine, and we had automobiles replacing the horse carts. Previously, people used to build the plants closer to the river so that they can harness the flow of water. Now, with the steam engine and combustion engine, those plants, those factories were able to build anywhere they wanted, wherever it makes sense. So that was a revolutionary time. That was a transformational time, which we call Industry 2.0 or whatever. The third revolution came when we integrated those manual and mechanical processes with technology, with computers. So instead of having a mechanical process, we had a computerized process where we could analyze a variety of complex systems, further increasing productivity and facilitating mass production. This 3.0, the third revolution in the industry, also brought in the time when we had internet in 1970s. Internet is the world's most successful consumer product by far. And now we have the fourth industrial revolution, where we are going to get more insights into the complex systems of current value chains and applying technology at multiple nodes so that we can transform the whole value chain. And this is what we are calling the digital transformation. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So when industrial revolution or transformation happens, there are two kinds of forces that come into the play. One force is the demand side, and the second force is supply side. So let me start with the supply side force first. Gordon Moore was one of the co-founders of Intel. Intel is a company that makes semiconductor chips. Now, Moore discovered in 1985 that every 18 months, the cost of making one semiconductor chip goes down by half. At the same time, the same chip takes half as space it used to take in the previous version. What that tells us is that every 18 months, we're going to have faster computers and smaller computers every 18 months. This is how we have more number of sensors in the market, more number of chips, more number of computers, and smaller computers. Now, the computers, the chips, they became so affordable that you see more than $20 billion devices in the world for a population of 7 billion people on the planet. It is phenomenal. And that has been credited to the Moore's law that has propelled the production of those chips and reduction in size of those chips. That's the supply side equation. You are being bombarded by those IoT devices, by those sensors. Now you can't find a single device or single machine that does not have some sort of sensor, starting from a microwave, starting from a refrigerator that comes with an LCD screen, et cetera, and et cetera. That's a supply side force. You are bombarded by those technology. When it comes to the demand side force, Metcalfe's law. Now, this law is not discovered by Metcalfe. It was discovered by one of his students and credited to him, and he took this credit shamelessly. Nevertheless, Metcalfe's law talks about the value generated when there is an extra node into the system. Simply speaking, this law was invented or designed at the time when there were fax machines. And you can imagine if there is only one fax machine in the world, there is a very limited value. But if there are two fax machines, the value gets doubled. When there are four fax machines, the value gets exponentially increasing the value as you add more fax machines in the world. The same applies to your Facebook friends. The same applies to your Twitter or LinkedIn followers. And the same applies to the users of those IoT devices or the industrial IoT or AI. The more you use, the more you generate value for the rest of the network. And that gives rise to the network effect from the demand side. Every user is not only driving more value by being part of the network, but also by using this network, they're delivering more value to the rest of the users in the network. That's your demand side force. So we talked about the supply side force, we talked about the demand side force, the Moore's law and Metcalfe's law. What happens when these two forces come together? The supply side, you're getting bombarded by a huge amount of sensors. And the demand side, that every new sensor is increasing the value of its friends, the other sensors. When these two forces come together, we see what we call the law of disruption. The law of disruption, when the demand side and the supply side forces come together, and there is nothing that can stop this disruption from happening. And the disruption is measured by the amount of change for a given period of time. And that change increases exponentially with respect to time. And we are right now, for our industry, we are here at the knee of this disruption. From this point, there is no going back. We are only going to go forward. The idea is not, should I do it? Should I be a part of it? That's no longer a question. The question is, how can I get the best out of it? It is going to happen to me anyway. I'm already being transformed. I am being disrupted as I speak. The question is, how can I be the leader of the change rather than being driven by the change? Because when change drives you, it drives you away. But when you drive the change, you use it to harness. You harness its value to make your operations more sustainable, more reliable, more productive. You get better value out of it. Now, this industrial IoT, digital transformation, it comes in many flavors. And one thing I must tell you is when you look at all those circles, only look at that they're enablers of something. The whole idea is the middle circle that you see is the fourth transformation of the industry, the fourth revolution that we are going to witness, that we are part of it, that we are in the making of history for the industrial world. Historically, any disruption, any revolution, Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0, whatever the revolution that we have seen, it has affected in the world in three ways. In three ways. Number one, people. Number two, resources. Number three, industry. Three ways. When it comes to people, there is always that conversation about technology taking away the jobs of people. So if the blue dots represent the people and the white dot represent the technology, maybe automation, maybe AI, maybe robots. The conventional wisdom tells us that the more technology we bring in, we are replacing the people's jobs, that they're taking away the jobs from the people. We are going to have less people employed if we get more technology. That is what is called replacement dynamics. If history is any indicator, if we have learned anything from the fourth revolution of the industry, is that replacement dynamics is rarely a thing. When new technology comes in, it does not replace the exact number of jobs. Some jobs become irrelevant for sure, which are going to happen anyway. But what has happened historically and what is going to happen now is that the overall size of the pie is going to increase. There are going to be so many new jobs coming that despite technology taking a lot of jobs, there are going to be so many new jobs coming that a new dynamic state is going to take place, which is called creation dynamics. There will be new skills, there will be new jobs, there will be new roles defined. Of course, people have to upskill, people have to learn, people have to try new things that they have not done before. That's a pain that we have to go through. And like I said before, because we are part of this disruption, it is irreversible. We better get prepared to learn new things, to upskill ourselves. So that's the people part of it. The resource part of it, the way we are using our resources on this earth, on this planet, the population, we require 1.5 planet to live. The amount of greenhouse gases we emit from our industries, from our usage, from our lives day to day, we are going to need 1.5 of planet Earth's resources already. That's the beauty of this technology. That's the beauty of Industry 4.0, the fourth revolution of this industry. If we use this technology wisely, if we use the technologies to make our processes and operations more sustainable, we can go back to using just one Earth. We can make this place a better place to live, not only for us, but also for the future generations. And industrial AI, industrial IoT has a huge potential to do that. So that's the second part, which is resources. The third and final, industry. The 5 principles of Industry 4.0 or digital transformation. What are those 5 principles? Let's talk about them. The first principle is act now. The second is to stay focused. The third principle is build a belief system. And fourth, bias for action. And finally, the last but not the least, empower your people. Let's talk about them one by one. Act now. And this is the sense of urgency I talked about before. We are already a part of disruption. Things are already happening. It is only us who are standing between the success and ourselves. As per a very old McKinsey report, as little as 1% of industrial data is used. Now, I don't mean that you don't use it, that the industry is not using it. What I mean is that the data is not being used to take action. It is not being turned into actionable insight. It is stored somewhere in a historian, it's stored somewhere in a server, and nobody is taking a look at it. Nobody is going to understand what is happening with my machines, what has been happening with my processes. Not using that 99% data is costly. Not using that 99% data that is stored on somewhere in one server is expensive. You're leaving dollars, you're leaving a lot of value on the table. So better, let's act now. That's the first principle of digital transformation. And what is the value? What is the money that we are leaving on the table? If we don't act, if we don't use that data, just by using the consumer data, our live data, by Uber, by Amazon, by Google, by Apple, all tech companies, the way they are revolutionizing the things, our rideshare, the new concept that has revolutionized the way we took taxi to the laundries and restaurants booking and everything, the value generated from that is estimated to be $10 trillion from the consumer industries. But if I add the industries, the resource industry to it, $18 trillion is the value estimated for the worldwide digital transformation. Now you might be wondering, why do I care? I'm not in that consumer industry. What's the value for mining? The value for mining for our industry is $400 billion in digital revenue gain. Revenue gain means when a haul truck carrying a gold ore, when that haul truck breaks down, it costs a large gold mining company $125,000 every hour. So revenue gains by deploying technology into mining operations is $400 billion. And the same value can be gained, same amount of value from cost and efficiency. Fuel consumption, tires consumption, cost of maintenance, cost of labor, cost of parts, all put together is a huge amount of money that is being spent towards the maintenance, repair, and operating costs for our operations. It's a huge amount of money that we are leaving behind on the table for one industry. Now you might be thinking, what's the value for one mine? Can we have like a bite-sized understanding of this? And the thing is, for a typical fleet, let's say an ordinary yellow haul truck fleet of 44 machines, the typical value from industrial IoT is $12 million every single year. And if you just reduce 1% fuel consumption by reducing idling or by making the engines more efficient, 70 metric ton of greenhouse gases will be produced less every year from one single fleet. 70 metric ton every single year, lesser greenhouse gases. It's enormous value that we are leaving behind if we don't act now. That's first principle of digital transformation. The second principle is stay focused. Why it is important is when you think about digital transformation, I know that COVID has accelerated it. Now we have much more focus, we know all about it, but still we are surrounded by so many shiny looking pebbles. Someone comes to us and say, I'm selling asset performance management. I'm selling a safety solution. I'm selling data science, enterprise application. Should I build myself? Should I partner? Should I buy? So many different things, shiny looking pebbles. It is easy to lose focus. The second principle, which is very important, is stay focused. What matters to the business is your operations are reliable, your operations are productive, you're producing cash flow from your projects, from your technologies, you're enhancing your safety metrics, and you're not compromising on the integrity of your operations. IT and OT. OT is getting larger and larger as compared to IT, and conventional IT security is not enough. So while you do this, are you keeping your operations secure? Stay focused. Stay focused on the 5 value drivers of the technology. Don't focus on which technology, but focus on what is the driver, what is the result, what is the value proposition of that technology. Stay focused. That's a second principle. The third principle is build a belief system. And what do I mean by belief system is, conventionally, the digital transformation is sometimes a job of a chief digital officer, chief information officer, or chief transformation officer, or sometimes a high profile IT manager. The industrial IoT, industrial AI, or digital transformation, or Industry 4.0, they are so big that it's not a job of one team or one department. The belief system has to be such that, starting from the top person, the leader of the company, all the way to the frontline people who are using their hands to deliver value, all the way from bottom to top and top to bottom, there is one belief that we are going to get transformed, that this is important, that the use of technology, transforming our business by using digital, is essential to remain competitive, to remain operational. It is an essential thing, and that belief has to be from bottom to top and top to bottom. No bureaucracy, no politics. And that belief system you can see in every successful organization that has transformed their operations by using digital technologies. That it has been a board topic, and it's also a topic that frontline people discuss during their lunch break or coffee break. When the percolation of these technologies is as immense as I just spoke about, then you have a successful digital transformation. So that's the third principle. What's the fourth? Bias for action. And bias for action, I could not speak more about it. It is when we look for technologies to power our machines, when we look for new sensors, when we look for new technologies, we get so immersed in the technology piece of it, we get so immersed in the project management of that, is that we forget about how do we empower our people to take action. Fourth principle is always have a bias for action. Always think in terms of, like I said before, always think, how do I enable my people to change their behavior from where the action comes? If I build a very beautiful tool that nobody uses, it's meaningless. Even a stupid tool that is used enough can deliver a lot of value as compared to a very smart tool that is not used much. Always think about having a bias for action. Whatever technology, whatever system I'm going to build, is it going to be actionable or not? Am I going to get actionable insights from it? Sometimes we get systems that give us a lot of data, a lot of raw data, and we feel happy about it. Oh, I'm going to have this data into some sort of fancy looking dashboard. But if nobody opens that dashboard, that is dumb technology. That's not helpful. So always have a bias for action. And in one use case, like I said before, 44 machines, 365 million data points accessed, and the value was $9 million annual maintenance. It's huge. It's only when you put those systems into action, when there are actionable insights that can be used by maybe a machine operator or maybe a maintenance supervisor or a general manager of a mine, and they change their behavior, that's when magic happens. That's when you deliver value, that's when you create value. But if those systems, they remain unusable by the operators, by the people, no value. That's the fourth principle, bias for action. Finally, the fifth one, the last but not the least, empower your people. If you're thinking about change management after you have built some system, a new system, let me tell you this. You have already lost it. You're already too late. Empower your people, lead the change. Don't think about change management. Don't manage the change because it has already happened and now you are damage controlling it. Change management is a disaster. Don't manage the change. Lead the change. Involve your hard hat wearing people into your planning process. Ask them, which problems should I solve today? Involve them in the planning process super early on so they become a cheerleader for the projects. That way, when you finally build a system, when you finally have a new technology, they're not going to be repelling it. They're going to look forward to it because they have been a part of it. Because that system has been built by their feedback. Because you know that this system, and they know too, is that that system is going to make their life simpler and easier. And then you won't have to think about the change management. Now you already led the change. Now you have already put all the right pieces into the place, and this jigsaw puzzle is looking very beautiful. Empower your people. Involve them in the very beginning of the design process. That's a fifth principle of digital transformation. I talked about 5 principles of digital transformation, 5 principles of fourth revolution of industry. First one is act now, because we are running out of time, because there is a huge value that we are going to leave on the table if we don't act now. The second is stay focused. Stay focused means don't look at the shiny looking pebbles. Stay focused on the value drivers. Stay focused on the business objectives like revenue, cash flow, productivity, reliability, safety, and security. Those are the real objectives that you should stay focused on when you look for new technology, new systems. Third, build a belief system, top to bottom and bottom to top. Everybody is convinced and have a belief that these new technologies are going to solve our problems. These new technologies, new system, whatever you're building, is going to make us more competitive and more profitable, more safer, more productive. Have that belief system top to bottom and bottom to top. Fourth, bias for action. Don't just look for systems that nobody uses. Look for system that everybody uses. Because when you have usage, when you have action, that's when you generate value. If people continue to do the things the way they have been doing always, why rebuilding a system? If you change nothing, nothing will change. Bias for action. Think about how do we make the insights more actionable. Think about, I will take lesser data, but I'm going to use that data to change my actions. Finally, empower your people. Don't manage change. If you're thinking about change management after you have built a system, you have already lost it. You've already failed. Sorry to say that. Think about the change before you start a project. Involve your people early on. Seek their counsel. Think in a way that they think. The people on the front line who are supposed to create that magic, who are supposed to deliver the value. 5 principles of digital transformation. My name is Ash, and it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much.